All right, so let's start sort of climbing up the visual system, starting at the bottom, which of course is the eye. And here is a sort of a schematic picture of the eye, and light's coming in this way, and there are a variety of structures. Let's see, a couple that we'll mention. So you have this lens here. Lens changes what's in focus. And by the way, you have what might be thought of as a spherical retina, and so in some sense, spherical retinas are a lot easier to deal with planar retinas. We put planar retinas in cameras and things like that. Spherical means all the rays are sort of the same, which is kind of nice. The other thing to notice on these lenses is that they're attached by these fibers right here. And those fibers pull on the lens, and they cause the lens to deform, which changes the focus, and that's how you focus near and far. Well, that's how you focus near and far. The way I focus near and far is I put on reading glasses. Why is that? Because I'm old. Well, I'm not that old, but what happens is my eyeballs think I'm old. In fact, sometime right around my 40th birthday, I looked at my watch, and I was trying to wonder how my watch knew it was my 40th birthday because it decided to go out of focus just that day. But what happens is the ability of those fibers to deform that lens, it hardens up a bit, and you lose the ability to deform the lens as much, and you can't do near focus. And that's why you see those of us with less hair carrying around reading glasses. So the lens focuses the light coming in, goes through this center area called the pupil. You have a certain amount of adjustment of the size of the pupil in terms of the amount of light that's in there. We'll talk about the dynamic range in a minute. And then what happens is the light passes through a clear liquid, which keeps the eye in its shape, and it projects onto this back area called the retina. Okay? And one of the things you'll also notice in here is that there's this optic nerve. There's also a bunch of blood vessels that come in and feed the retina. And we'll talk in a little bit about how come it is that it comes all the way up through here so that it actually sees the middle here. That is, it's not just in the back. But when you look in there, what you would see is a funny little area. It's referred to as the optic disc or the blind spot. And in fact, if you've ever been to an ophthalmologist and he looks in your eye, what he sees is something like this. All right? That's assuming everything's healthy. So there are all these blood vessels that are nurturing the retina. And then there's this area in the middle where the blood vessels and the nerves are coming together. And that's your blind spot.